Alrighty, so this is the Thursday briefing covering today through next Wednesday. Right, okay, so a little overview of what we're looking at this week. We'll have a cold front crossing through the area later today, and that'll temporarily dry some things out as high pressure builds in behind it. We're looking at some dry weather tomorrow, but wet weather returns for the weekend as a frontal system pushes through the area. And then we're also looking at a low pressure system along the coast middle to late week next week that could bring some more precip and potentially some more winter weather to the area. I do just want to mention that Saturday with that rain that we're expecting, there could be a few rumbles of thunder, but at this time we're not expecting any severe storms with that. However, we are looking at excessive rainfall. So this is for Saturday. Most of the areas in at least a marginal risk for excessive rainfall, and then portions of our Piedmont are looking at a slight risk for that. So we could potentially be seeing some flooding issues with that moderate rainfall that we're expecting on Saturday. And this is just a look through at what we're expecting through Sunday morning. I will note that we are expecting more rain on Sunday during the day. So this is only capturing part of the event this weekend. But through Sunday morning, we're looking at 1 inch to 1.5 inches for northern half of the area, and then up to 1 inch for the southern portion. But then going into Sunday, this graphic here on the right kind of gives you an idea about where those higher rainfall amounts on Sunday are expected. So that higher rainfall should shift kind of to the southeast as we go into late weekend. And this is just kind of an overview of all the precip we're expecting in the next 7 days. So obviously a lot of widespread rainfall. And then what we have here is some timing of when we can expect that rainfall. This morning we had some light rain and then drying out for Friday. But then looking at like Saturday afternoon through later Saturday night is when we'll be expecting those higher rainfall rates to move into the area. I do want to note that we are looking at the potential for some light icing in the portions of our Piedmont. There's still some uncertainty with this, but it would be Saturday morning. And then looking at the temperatures here, you can see by the time we get to mid-morning Saturday, we'll be above freezing, and so that risk will be falling off there. But we could see a glaze of ice in the west on Saturday morning. Looking forward to Sunday, it'll still be raining and also windy. We're expecting some gusty winds, especially along the coast. What we're looking at, 30 to 40 mile an hour wind gusts on Sunday. So with the rain falling and the wind and the already saturated soils, we could be seeing potentially some power outage and tree damage issues with that. And this is just kind of breaking down when that wind risk would be. So Sunday for along the coast, and going into Monday, there's still that lingering wind risk on the eastern shore. And then I'll just pause here for a second to look over the temperatures and probability of precip for different areas across our forecast area, looking at some, seasonable temperatures more or less for the next few days, and then really cooling off after Sunday.
All right. Yeah, with that, we'll shift gears. Going to talk a little bit about the flooding that's going on some of the potential flooding that's coming with the rainfall. And we'll also then after that get into the potential winter storm next week. So a little bit more to talk about here, and then we'll end with the marine. So this is what's going on at Lawrenceville this morning. Had a rise above flood stage. It's going to crest, through tomorrow around 17 feet. This shows the river coming down, but this does not take into account the rainfall that's going to be coming this weekend. So I'll show you what's going to happen there. We may see a little bit of a decrease this weekend, but then the river is going to go back up as we get more precipitation later on this weekend. So I'll show you that. But this is the only river right now where we're actually breaking flood stage in the area from the rainfall we've already experienced. Just kind of a quick summary going across the area. Farmville looks like it's going to stay just below flood stage. Of course, Lawrenceville, we mentioned, is actually going above flood stage right now. Matoax, they're going to be updating the forecast. Might make a run there on the Appomattox River at Matoax. Probably going to still stay a little bit below flood stage. They'll be updating this. We'll probably hit maybe around 20 feet. I don't think we'll get to 21. We will later on, and we'll talk about that. Looking here at Stony Creek, going to get real close to flood stage. We'll probably stay just below. And of course, Matoaca, I'm still waiting to be updated, but this should also remain below flood stage, as well as Emporia. We're going to talk a little bit more about West Ham. West Ham on the James is on the rise. Not forecast right now to get above minor flood stage, but it will later on when we get the additional precipitation. So we'll get right into that. So just kind of looking at the rivers across the area, this now takes into account the rainfall that the models are putting out for this weekend. And so all the gauges you see here on the orange have a good chance of maybe hitting some minor flood stages. The ones here in the red is more moderate, where we may see more significant flooding. So definitely here along the James River, as well as out here towards Roanoke. So we'll kind of quickly walk through some of these gauges and what the rivers might do with this additional slugger rain this weekend. The rivers are going to respond next week. And so this is at Lawrenceville. We're actually in flooding now. It's going to probably drop down below flooding, and we're probably going to make a run even higher potentially with the next slug, his February 17th. Later on this weekend, we may see that secondary rise, and maybe even we'll see if it's a better rise than what we saw right now there at Lawrenceville. And again, this is based on that additional rainfall this weekend. Moving out to Farmville, it looks like, with that slugger rain, especially maybe 1.5 to maybe 2.5 inches of rain this weekend, should see a good response at Farmville, with most likely getting above flood stage there. Some good confidence that the river there is going to go, Appomattox River at Farmville is going to go into flood later on based on that forecast rain. Same thing here at West Ham. We're going to be watching West Ham really closely. This is one of the rivers that could go into moderate flooding there through Richmond. So with the slugger rain that we're expected to come down the James, some good confidence here. The area in blue here is kind of showing you the most confident range of possibilities, with the blue line being the best guess. So pretty good confidence we're going to make a run at moderate flooding there along the James River. And again, this is all based on, I'd say, 1.5 to let's say 2.5 inches of rain falling in the James River Basin. You also have melting snow up along that basin as well. So we'll watch this to notice that this crest really isn't until February 18th. So out there quite a ways, 18th and the 19th. So we'll just be watching this from potential moderate flooding through downtown Richmond there later on next week. Moving on to the Appomattox at Matoax. We're also watching this one. Again, good slugger rain coming down the Appomattox River. Good confidence that we're going to get above minor flooding. We might try to approach moderate. We'll see. Right now, looks like we'll probably stay below moderate flooding, but really good confidence that we're going to break flood stage there on the Appomattox River at Matoax with this second slugger rain this weekend that Allison talked about. As far as looking at the Nottoway River at Sebril, it's going to come up and stay up for quite some time. You do see quite a bit of uncertainty as you get further out in the forecast, a lot of spread here in the blue. So we might be able to make a run at minor flooding at Sebril. We'll see what happens. I wouldn't be shocked to see a long period of flooding there on the Nottoway River at Sebril, once we get to February 17th, especially maybe the February 18th on. We could see a period here of just at least minor flooding there at Sebril. All right, so the next thing everyone wants to talk about is what's going to happen next week, because there is some chatter. There is going to be some cold air in place. And so if you look at the way the models are painting the picture and the probability that we might see at least some impacts from winter weather, it's almost like, state of Virginia got carpet bombed with about a 20 to 30% probability of at least some type of snow impacts. And what's going to be going on is you're going to have a coastal low, a typical nor'easter coming up the coast, skirting off the Carolinas, and we're already going to have some cold air in place. Allison showed where the temperatures really are going to be quite a bit cooler after Sunday behind that cold front. So we're going to have some cold air in place. Typical thing where it's going to depend upon the track of the low, how close does the low track to the coast, how intense is the low, and then exactly what are the temperatures across the region as that coastal storm moves up. But the ingredients are there for a classic winter storm across our area with the cold air in place and a coastal storm moving up the coast. And then we just have to figure out who's going to get how much and where. Right now, I'm kind of blending a lot of the models together and doing like a statistical analysis. It's kind of broad, but at least it gives you an idea where we could see 3 inches of snow or more. So everything here in the red is about at least a 30 to 40% chance of maybe seeing 3 inches. And it's pretty broad, again, because it's all dependent upon the storm track. The storm track tracks closer to us. It could push more warm air over southeast Virginia and warm air all the way up to Richmond. If the storm system stays just a little bit further away, yeah, that cold air might hang on, and we might be able to see that snow line extending all the way down into portions of Hampton Roads. So I think this is a good best guess right now of just saying anywhere across, I'd say, especially central Virginia, the eastern shore, northern Virginia, western Virginia, there's definitely going to be that potential of getting some decent snowfall. There are even some probabilities in the models, showing much higher totals than this if you pick and choose your models. You do notice the probability does increase once you get just to the north and west of Richmond. The probability of 3 inches of snow here in the darker orange really does start to increase across parts of the Maryland Eastern Shore, maybe coming down here through Ashland, maybe out towards Goochland, especially Louisa. So we'll see what happens. Somewhere up in here, it's the cold air could hang on a lot longer, and the snow could be more proficient. So stay tuned. The signals are definitely there. It's not a slam dunk right now. It's even hard to tell which day may be the biggest threat. Some models suggest Wednesday. Some models are saying a little bit later, maybe more like Wednesday late into Thursday. So right now it's Wednesday, Thursday timeframe. We're going to be continuing to fine tune this, but we do have the ingredients, the cold air in place, and a potential coastal storm moving up off the Carolinas. So stay tuned. We may be talking a lot more about snow in the days to come. And I'll turn it back over to Allison to wrap up on the marine forecast.
Alrighty. All right. Okay, so this is the marine wind probabilities through Saturday. Definitely looking at, at least small craft conditions possible with perhaps a chance for some gale force gusts in our coastal waters. And we're kind of looking at these gusty conditions really off and on all through from now through the weekend. And then when we've got small craft advisories for today for the coastal waters for seas, and then tonight for some gusty northwest winds. And then looking forward to Sunday, we do have some potential for some gale force gusts in our coastal waters, and we'll just have to keep watching that. But there is the potential for some gale warnings to go up, but at least small craft. This is through Sunday evening, so you can see I mentioned some around gale force, and we do have around 35 to 36 knot gusts in the forecast for the coastal waters, and in the rivers in the bay we're looking around 30 knots of wind. For seas, over the next 72 hours, the max seas are going to be around 7 to 10 feet and up to 4-foot waves in the bay. All right, and then looking over time here, you can see we've got some gusty conditions today, and especially tonight as those winds turn around to the northwest, and then diminishing for Friday and Saturday, but coming up again on Sunday. You can see Sunday afternoon, those southwest winds ahead of the next front really crank up, and that's the time period that from Sunday afternoon into early Monday is the time period we'd be looking at for potential gales. All right, and then looking ahead to next week, we did talk about that turning to that colder weather, so not too big of a surprise here to see the below average temperatures in the 6 to 10 day forecast, as well as the above average precip um, in the outlook here. All right, and then that's just summing up everything we talked about with the minor river flooding, and then the several waves of precip over the next week, as well as the winter storm and marine weather. So I'll just pause here, and we're good to take questions.